I'm Jenni Carlson here with Scott Wright. We are next to the Oklahoma County District Court, where today Judge Bernard Jones has decided to wait on his ruling in the Douglas, Oklahoma City Public Schools suit against the OSSAA to try to get the Locust Grove game replayed in either part or its entirety after the chaos of a couple weeks ago. And Scott, we heard from sides that we've basically been hearing from in a couple weeks on this whole thing. What did you hear today? Anything new that sort of struck you from these proceedings?
Well, the Oklahoma City Public Schools attorneys point that actually allowing the appeal to the OSSAA board last week by Douglas and Oklahoma City Public Schools was technically outside of the bounds of what the policies of the OSSAA called for, was a very interesting point, showing that this wasn't absolutely followed by the letter of the law according to OSSAA policies, and that they stepped out of their realm in doing that. Was an interesting revelation today that we really hadn't heard, and the continuing argument over unusual circumstances went on and was continually debated by attorneys and Ed Shakely while he was on the stand as during his testimony. So that continued as well, and continues to be the big crux of this entire argument.
Yeah, definitely interesting, because one of the things the OSSAA is saying is we don't have the ability within our bylaws and our policies and procedures to uphold this appeal, to replay the game in any way. But then the Oklahoma City Public Schools are saying, but wait, just allowing us to have an appeal was outside your parameters. So very interesting. The fact that the Judge Jones, said, I want to wait, I think it says just how hard of a decision he's facing. He may have already decided, but he, much like the board, when they heard this appeal a week ago, talked about, do I want to set a precedent and what's within the law? It sounds like he's still got a high standard. Do you have a sense of how this could fall from what you heard today?
You know, having been at both the original hearing and today, I've had the sense that Judge Jones has a very high standard for what Oklahoma City Public Schools have to prove to him to show that they deserve this injunction, and I think that that's still the case. But there is a lot of information for him to look over. Neither attorney for either side was surprised by the direction that this went, by it being delayed until tomorrow, because it is so late in the day at this point. So it's definitely a lot for him to consider. He's clearly a very thoughtful judge, and had some very interesting questions for the attorneys after they presented their cases. So no surprise necessarily, though a lot of us maybe are hoping for an end to this. Maybe we'll get it at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
That's right. The judge saying that they'll file his decision, his ruling, at 10 a.m. At least by then. So we'll know something 10 a.m. in the morning. Let's hear what some of the folks involved with today's hearing had to say.
Think about the type of error we're talking about here. We're not talking about, we don't think that was a hold, or that guy was off sides and it wasn't called. We're also not talking about, we don't like the fact that that call was made. We're actually talking about a situation in the last 2 minutes of a game where an official did not know the rule, misapplied it, changed the course of the game, and very likely the outcome. That doesn't happen often. That's very different than not calling a pass interference in the end zone as time expires or something like that. So do I think this is worthy of a precedent? Yes. Do I think that it will open this Pandora's box that people are talking about? No. These don't happen all that often.
And in this instance, we would say clearly, under the precedent established by the courts here, students don't have the right to play in a particular game, certainly not a right to replay a particular game. And then again, as I said in the courtroom, from the irreparable harm standpoint, this is a situation in which the teams come together agreeing that they're going to have a contest and that there's going to be a winner and a loser. So roughly half the people involved in the contest are going to go away with some sort of disappointment. It's unfortunate and regrettable that in this instance an officiating error clearly was made and had some kind of effect on the contest. But there is an agreement among the member schools and the OSSAA that errors can occur, that everybody takes the risk that errors can occur. And if they don't get corrected on the field, then we're going to move on and go on to the next game, go on to the next round of the playoffs.
Well, once we get a ruling on Thursday morning from Judge Jones, we'll know the next direction of this case. And Scott, I guess the question becomes, if he says, yes, this game is replayed, do we think it gets replayed? Do we know? And if he says, no, I'm not granting this, is there a football game this weekend?
If he rules in favor of the OSSA on this case, it sounds as if there will definitely be a game. As of right now, Heritage Hall in Locust Grove scheduled for 7 p.m. at Sapulpa Friday night. And that's the plan if the judge rules in favor of the OSSAA. If he rules in favor of Douglas and the Oklahoma City Public Schools, then we could be seeing some legal action or an action of some sort from the Locust Grove representation, attorneys, or just the school district, one or the other. And that could be appealing to the Supreme Court, coming to back to the OSSA. We don't know exactly what that action would be. Their attorneys didn't speak at all today, so we will see what direction it goes. Should they rule in favor of Douglas in this situation? But our best chance of having football is if this goes in favor of the OSSAA, at which point Heritage Hall in Locust Grove would play Friday night.
Mark Grossman, the OSSAA attorney, saying that Locust Grove would not entertain any contingency plans, just saying they would take action if Douglas won this case. Not sure what that means. We'll have to wait and see. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.